It looks like the live stream it has begun or is beginning. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on this live Q&A, this straight to you from the Oxnard Police Department, straight to you from downtown Oxnard here at the police station. My name is Paul Carganilla. I'm the Community Affairs Manager here at Oxnard PD, and we are streaming live from 5:30 to 6 p.m. tonight. It's Thursday, so if you're watching right now, live, we can interact with you in the Facebook comments chat, and we're going to open it up for questions for my guest here toward the end of the episode. But if you are watching and it is past 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, then you are watching a replay. So just so you know, we won't be able to interact with you live as we are with everyone else who is here now. But thank you again for joining us. We have a very exciting guest this evening that I'm so stoked to talk to. And so we're just going to jump right into it. Please join me in welcoming Senior Officer Daniel Casson. Is it Dan? Is it Danny? Is it Daniel?
Danny.
Danny. All right.
We're not real formal, man.
Well,
Danny.
Speaking of not being formal, you'll see I'm not in my dress shirt this evening. I've got my canine sweater on and my Oxnard PD canine sweater on, and we're gonna give one of these away a little bit later here in the live show. And Danny, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
We always begin these with taking it all the way back to the very beginning just to get to know you. So Danny Casson, born and raised?
Raised in Simi Valley, graduate of Simi Valley High School, class of 82. So I just gave up a little bit of my age. So pretty much a native of Ventura County.
Very cool. And so you did you go to college at all after Simi High?
A little bit of college, Fullerton College, Moore College, kind of jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, I know that feeling very well.
Yes.
But did you want to be a police officer from an early age, or when did that come about for you?
Honestly, it wasn't an early age. I'm going to say not until my early to mid 20s. Started settling down and focusing on what I want to do as a career. And growing up, I've always been a really fast-paced individual. So I like to be busy. I like to be challenged all the time. And I figure what better way to be challenged is to become a police officer and, deal with the different, things that we face every day and calls for service and different walks of life that we come across. I've always been a people person. So I'm pretty social, known as kind of like a social butterfly. So this job, you meet new people every day, and every day is different. You're never doing the same thing.
Yeah, and we can tell you do have a big and welcoming personality, as anyone who saw you on TV last week remembers. You were, of course, we're going to dig into this a little bit later, but on America's Top Dog on A&E, you and your partner Capone won your episode. Congratulations, by the way. I haven't spoken to you since then.
Thank you.
But we'll get back to that. Let's rewind to, did you have any jobs before you came to Oxnard PD?
I did. Well, when I was young, I was involved in motorcycle racing. So that was my thing. I'm going to be a professional motocross racer. So I don't know if that's where I get the business and the adrenaline. So I did that. And then shortly after graduating high school, I went to work at Northrop Aircraft. My dad was a career guy at Northrop. So I was working over in Newbury Park, worked on parts for the F-18. I think I was probably one of the youngest guys working the line, and paid really well. But one day I was there working on airplane parts, and like the light went on. It's like, hey man, I really want to be a policeman and I better get it going. So I just started, testing and kind of researching it a lot. And I became a reserve officer with Oxnard prior. So I got a taste early on of Oxnard. Even though I grew up in Simi, the reputation that the Oxnard Police Department always had was being very squared away, always respected, the training, the challenges, the day-to-day challenges. And so I knew that that's where I wanted to go. And thank God that's where I ended up. So
was this the only department that you had applied to?
no, I originally came from LA County Sheriff's Department.
Oh,
so I originally was working in the jails for a little while. And but I knew I wanted to, when I settled, I wanted to settle in Oxnard.
And so what year did you start your field training here?
1995. So okay. 26 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as anyone who saw the episode last week knows, you're talking about retirement a lot. So we're glad we caught you. Glad we caught you before that happened to chat with you here.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room. So it's like, I'm like, man.
We can let the elephant be for.
I might have to rescind that.
People at HR over here at the city are like, hello.
No, I haven't pursued any of that yet. So as of right now, I don't plan on going anywhere right soon.
Great. That's good for us to hear. So you join Oxnard PD. Any memories that stick out or lessons that you learned from your field training phase that still come up in your mind today, day to day?
I'll tell you, I was really fortunate, because it's so long ago, and all my field training officers were like all-stars and guys that were very seasoned. Guys like Tyson Hardman, Roger Whitney, Peter Freiberg, a little bit with Jim Jensen. So I was very fortunate that I had some of the best in the business to teach me the job. So I was real fortunate of that, and it just made me like it even more.
Yeah, it is so important to have I feel like obviously I'm not an officer, I'm a civilian professional employee, but everybody's been through training at any of their jobs, and how important it is to have a good trainer and someone who's positive influence, who's inspirational. And so I'm happy to hear you had an all-star lineup there. I will remind our watchers, our audience at home, that we will be taking questions toward the end of the conversation here. I'm reminded of that because Assistant Chief Eric Sonstegard drops into the comment thread and he says, please ask Officer Casson who his favorite person that he went to the canine school with was.
Well, it's pretty simple because it was the only guy that I went to the canine school with, and that was Chief Sonstegard.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was, I'm going to tell you, because Eric and I are been friends for a long time, and being able to go to canine school with them, and we're both very, very competitive. And so going through school, it was almost like going to batting practice and who's going to get the most base hits, and we were just grinding it out. And by the time we both got done with canine school, I'm telling you what, we were pretty beat, tired. We had brand new dogs that were green, didn't even know their names. Eric had to put up with me because we had to share. At the time, we had an old Bronco, like the O.J. Simpson type Bronco.
Nice.
And so that was the only canine car that we had to go to school, and we had to share it. So we had both our crates. And Eric, he reminds me from time to time, I didn't know Spanish, but I had to learn my canine announcements in Spanish, and we'd be driving to and from canine school. And Eric was teaching me my canine announcements in Spanish, and I was butchering it up pretty bad, and he was pretty patient. And sometimes he would just slap his head and go, "Really?" And also Chief Sonstegard early on, before And if you ask him, the best job he ever had was being a canine handler. So if he admits it. So we started competing together too. Eric and I started traveling and going to canine competitions. And it really made us better. And we'd go to these competitions and I'm like, if I get beat, it better be by you. And he had the same attitude. So we never assumed that any other agency was going to beat us. It'd be one another. And that's pretty much how it always played out. So, yeah, so we have some good history together.
Yes. And you mentioned, obviously, you're still a canine handler now, but rewinding a bit, what other assignments have you had here at the department?
Not a whole lot. No. Let me see. Well, I was on the bike detail. I was a training officer for the reserves. I was a graffiti detective for short term. And then that's when the canine opening came up. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. I grew up with animals. I always had dogs. I had dogs. I had pet rats. I had all kinds of stuff. And I was always training them. I was always having animals. And so I knew that that was the one thing I wanted to do. And so as soon as it opened up, I put in for it. And I was very fortunate to get selected. And, after 20 something years, they still haven't been able to get rid of me. so
Wow.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was first two dogs, Levi and Rico, and then I promoted to senior officer, and I was a beat coordinator in beat 32, which was actually really fun. And then I came back to the canine unit as the canine coordinator.
How long have you been the canine coordinator?
2000. Man, let me see, 2012.
Okay.
See, I'm getting old. I'm losing my mind. That's why I got a dog. Show me around.
Well, that's still a good amount of time. And for anyone who doesn't know the specifics of the canine unit, what can you give us a Reader's Digest, like 3-minute explanation of the canine program?
Back when I put in, you had to have 3 years minimum experience as a police officer with the Oxford Police Department. You had to have obviously a good work history to put in for it. Then how was it? It was 4 years and then 2 1-year extensions. And then you could reapply for the position, which I did. I retired out with my first dog, Levi, who worked the street for 8.5 years, which is a long time for a police dog. Then I got Rico, worked short term with Rico, and then I promoted. And then I came back as a senior. And so my current position now, I can reapply for my position after every 6 years. So.
And how does the canine program work? How does it get its funding? How much training do you guys do?
Well, so we'll start with the funding. That was I believe the first question. The majority of the funding that runs the canine program is through the Oxnard Community Canine Foundation, which purchases our police dogs, the equipment, a majority of medical expenses, training, and we also, it wasn't always like that, but we were in a position that we were able to purchase through a grant and through fundraising the canine Tahoes. That's why the only Tahoes that you'll see in the city are the canine guys driving them, because those were purchased through the foundation. So after the foundation purchases a dog and you make it through the testing process, then you attend a 6-week canine school, basic canine school. And by the end of the 6 weeks, these dogs are certified and working the street. And they've went from knowing nothing to their obedience, obstacle courses, searching for people, protecting the handlers and other officers. And then we'll follow up with patrol school with a narcotics school, which is 2 weeks, which the dogs are trained on. Our dogs are trained on all 4 odors: marijuana, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. The training program continues, never stops. Every Wednesday is a training day. Our weekly training is 5 to 6 hours. Our monthly is an all day. Then in between that, we are assigned to patrol services, and we're actually under special operations, which is SWAT and canine. So we're helping patrol, and then we assist our special enforcement unit as needed, our violent crimes unit, and our narcotics unit with search warrants and things of that nature. And then it's up to us to continue our daily training. So if we have any downtime, we'll spend 30 minutes to an hour a day training the dog during any downtime. So that's on top of the weekly and monthly training. So most of our dogs will get a minimum between 23 and 25 hours a month of training.
Wow.
So, and then we're certified. We do a post certification once a year to show that the dog is still proficient in doing his job.
Wow. That may be your fish tank repairman at the door. Dan. No, I'm just kidding.
Hold on.
Officer Casson is so kind to be joining us from home this evening, where we're getting ready for the show, and he's like, "This is a great night to be doing this. My fish tank just sprung a leak, and I'm trying to save my fish, and going on live. So here we go.
I told you I got animals around me all the time.
It's true. Let's do it live." And how many dogs? Lastly, before we get to the questions, does our unit have?
Our unit currently has 3 dogs. When I first came in the unit years ago, we ran with 5 dogs. At one point, we were running with 6 dogs, and then everybody has to make some sacrifices when we have to make some cuts here and there, whether it's patrol or detectives. Everybody kind of when we're short, and so right now we're running three dogs, and that's Robert Caston and Rocky. And then we have Moses Martinez with Leo.
And we love to see you guys out at events. And as one of the first questions that was asked, she's obviously joking, but Jazz asked, "Can I pet your dog?" But it does bring up a good point. When we see these dogs at events, is it okay to come up to them?
We always appreciate if people ask first, if they can, visit with the dog. I remind people, it's not that our dogs aren't social, but these are working dogs. They're not therapy dogs. They're not circus dogs. They're not trick dogs. These are dogs that come to work. So we always appreciate if somebody asks first before, they approach the dog. You just never know. The dogs are just like us. We're in different moods. We might have just came from something that might have been stressful for the dog. And we always want the dog to calm down a little bit, but we always appreciate people asking before they approach the dog. But most of the time it's not a problem petting the dog.
So just like common courtesy with any dog owner out in public.
Yeah, and I'd suggest that with anybody, even if you're at the park or out, walking your neighborhood. Don't always assume that everybody's dog's friendly. They're just like people. Everybody's got a different personality, and some people are more, or some are friendlier than others.
Speaking of different personalities, of course, we know that everyone who saw the episode on A&E knows Capone speaks French. After watching the episode, I'm walking around the house talking to my dog. Babouge. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, that's one of them. But we used to, Eric we used to tease the kids when we go to schools and do demos. It was, hey, what language, who thinks they know what language the dogs speak? And they'll go, oh, German or this. Is like, man, dogs don't talk. So we tell them they understand the language spoken is German, Dutch, French. So, and then a lot of people ask why. And it's like, well, it depends on the origin of the dog, where the dog come from. We're not going to, start changing and re-gearing everything. We want it as simple and as easy for the dog to learn as they're going through school. And you always want to paint a clear picture for the dog to understand, and why add any confusion to it. So we don't do it to trick people, because I could give you all the commands and you could tell the dog the commands and he'd look at you like, whatever.
All right. Before we jump into the rest of the questions from everyone who's watching us live, again, thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions, we got about 10 more minutes. We'll get through as many of them here as we can. But our Oxnard PD Canine Instagram, I believe, put out a little contest earlier today that if anybody knows the password that was put out, they're going to win a free sweater, or the first person to put it in the chat. First person to put the password that our canines put out on their Instagram earlier today. If you put that in the comments now, they will be the recipients.
Yeah, I got
there
a
it is.
Sure.
And our winner is Jazz. Canine Levi was the password. Of course, was your first dog. And there's your current the television star right there.
Yeah, he's crashing the car.
You mentioned on the show he's such a lover. Look at that.
Yeah, he's
sweet boy.
Non-stop. He's a good boy. Love this dog.
And having a good, have you ever had like not a good relationship with your dog, or does that exist out there in the canine world?
It does.
Yeah.
You'll see some that are like the odd couple. But for the most part, you deal with it and you create this bond. And it's just like, you're not always going to agree on everything, but you're always going to have this bond. And like all my dogs, I've loved all my dogs. All my dogs are great. I do. I'm going to probably, I hate to say it, but this guy's my favorite, and it was tough. It was tough, but he's just been like the whole package, and I just really love this dog. I love working with this dog, and all this dog wants to do is please me and work.
Wow. I've had the pleasure of working with you both in some community events and, meeting with kids and explaining what you guys do. And he's always been just so awesome in the room and to work with. Shireen says, go Danny and Capone, we're at the harbor cheering for you. Antonia says, Ethan is excited to see you. Casson and Capone are his heroes. Let's see if there are any. Oh, here's another question from your buddy Eric, who says, does Officer Casson think the Los Angeles Chargers will make the Super Bowl this season?
Yeah, they've got about as good a chance as the Raiders.
Amy says, Nitro says hello.
Okay, I know Nitro and Amy.
Lisa wants to know, are some canine officers multi-talented, i.e. are some skilled as drug sniffers as well as with apprehension?
Yes, that's our dogs. They're called, what we call them is dual purpose. So all of our dogs in the Oxford Police Department are all dual purpose. So what that means is not only do they search for people, protection, they search for narcotics, and they search for evidence. They'll sniff for evidence and whatnot. So the best example I could give, and our dogs have found several guns, all of our dogs, where let's say, a guy robs a bank and he runs across the field and the officers ends up catching him on the other side of the field, but he doesn't have the gun that he was seen with earlier robbing the bank. We would most likely bring in a canine to search that field. And then the dog would locate if the gun was discarded in that field that we're searching, the dog would locate the gun for us.
Wow.
And what the dog's sniffing for is the most recent human odor on an item. So there's times that we train, well, like I would like, sometimes I'll take a quarter and I'll walk up to somebody and tell them to handle this quarter, rub it in their fingers, and then I'll tell them to go throw it out in the grass somewhere, and then I'll have Capone go out and find it.
Wow. That's really cool. Joey Burns asks, does Capone know how to play dead? Is that a command that they learn?
No, that's more of, it takes so much time just to keep up on the day-to-day training as a police dog. So stuff like playing dead and whatnot, those are all kind of like fun things that you might want to do if you have spare time. But we generally don't teach the dogs, tricks like that, because like I said, they're not a trick dog. It's a work dog, and I need him to obviously be proficient in doing his job. So every bit of extra time that we have, we try to focus on extra narcotics training, or there's times that we have other officers or volunteers within the department that will go and hide in a building for us somewhere, and then we'll have the dogs go in and search the building to try to find them. Couche.
Abouge.
Yeah, he had enough of the couch. Now he's got his little mattress thing that he's laying on. He's definitely, since the show, acting kind of like a little prince.
Speaking of the show, Antonio wants to know, did he get anything special for winning? Did you give him any special treats? Or
he gets special every day. I'm telling you. But yeah, he did. Actually, he got some special meats and things like that. But we were pretty tired after the show. I think we finished filming it at about 4:30 in the morning, and we'd been there for a couple of days doing a bunch of other filming, and then after all the competition and the adrenaline and everything, like we pretty much, I think we almost slept for a day. We were pretty tired. We were pretty gassed. So.
Yeah, I bet. I know how like exhausting it is to be on a film set and not have a dog that you have to be constantly keeping tabs on. And speaking of the show, do we know when the next round is? For if anybody didn't catch it, Officer Casson and Capone won their round of America's Top Dog, and so they will compete for the big grand prize. Do we know anything about that?
August 10th. August 10th is going to be the finale, where they bring back everybody that won their show will all come back and compete against one another. Very cool. It's August 10th.
And since we have a few minutes here, I'll just ask you, what was the experience like for you? Did you enjoy being on the show, or was it just very stressful? Or
you know what? I've had a lot of really cool opportunities since I've been a handler with the department. One was being able to go and be in the Rose Parade with Jax, which was like super cool. And then going and doing the show, it was an awesome experience. It's like, man, I don't know what else I could have done in the 20 years that I've been working dogs. So going and doing the show was kind of really cool. There was a lot that led up to it, a lot of the going through the interview process and whatnot, and then getting there and just going, wow, and then doing what they call all the B-reel interviews and whatnot. And I was a little nervous before the show aired because I hadn't seen anything, and I didn't know what was edited or what wasn't. And sometimes I'm a little unfiltered and I can be kind of a clown and goof and whatnot. So I'm like, man, I don't remember half the stuff I said. I just kind of went with it. And then when we shot the first show, and when we drove up to where it was at, and you're driving up to the set, and it's completely lit up with all the cameras and tons of people, you're just going, okay, like, wow. And you just gotta kind of ignore it and just go like, me personally, I just kind of went in competition mode. I do a lot of, through the years, a lot of canine trials and stuff with the dogs. So I just kind of try to get my mindset on that and try to ignore everything else that was going on. And it was kind of humorous. And I shared it with some of the other canine guys. There was this one gal, I can't remember her name, and she called herself the hype girl. And she'd be the one that would come and get me and Capone from our trailer. And Capone had his own trailer and everything with his name on it, which was kind of cool to see when you got there. And so we're walking down to the set, and she's like got all these headsets on and talking to people, and she's like giving me the whole spiel. All right, Danny, I'm your hype bro. You need to smile and be happy and blah 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 blah. And she's like, and I just kind of looked at her like, hey man, get out of here. I'm here for the competition. I was like checked out of the program. So but it was kind of funny. So yeah, she was in my ear all the way down there, and I just kind of like, hey,
it's show business, and she was there for the show, and you were there for the business.
Absolutely. Well, I kind of switched gears really quick.
Wow.
So
congratulations. And I just have to say, like you talk about it being a highlight of your career, and I know, just like so many of the residents here in Oxnard, just seeing you guys on the show and getting goosebumps when the Oxnard PD unit rolls up and you guys jump out, and seeing Oxnard Police Canine on your shirt was just like such an amazing feeling. And you represented the city and the department to the fullest, and so congratulations again to you and Capone.
No, I appreciate it. I was I was privileged. I was honored. It was like not every day you get to do something like that. So no, yeah, it was super, super cool, like super cool. So we had fun with it. We definitely had fun with it.
All right. Well, we've hit the 6 o'clock hour. Any last thoughts before we say goodbye?
Not on my app. If anybody else has any other questions, I'm sure Eric's probably loading up some more.
Well, people they want to know if there's going to be America's Top Dog shirts available, or if you could share photos from on set in Capone's trailer. And there's a lot of congrats and thanks for your service.
Yeah, no, we do. I do. I'll pass them on to you, Paul. I do have some photos from the set. And as you know, because you know the business, there's the whole the non-disclosure, and I couldn't share stuff, and I had to keep my mouth shut, because we shot it back in September. So we had to keep our, we couldn't talk about it and couldn't share all these photos and whatnot. But I do have some photos from the set, which was cool, and definitely was cool getting there, pulling up, and Capone's got his own trailer with his name on the door. My name's in real little underneath his.
Yeah, I know that feeling. And I don't have a working dog, but I know that feeling very well. And thank you again for joining us, Senior Officer Casson, and good to see you, Capone, back there. I'll let you go so you can take care of your aquarium.
Oh my God.
And thank you once again for joining us.
No, I appreciate it. It was my pleasure. I appreciate you for having me on and whatnot. And I'll share some whatever photos I have. I'll pass it on, and you can share them with the folks that are interested in looking at that stuff.
Sounds good. Thanks again. And thank you everybody out there for watching. We'll see you in the next Oxnard PD Straight to You. Have a good night.